How's everybody doing tonight?
Good.
Amazing. I walked in and I saw you guys dancing, and my heart just melted. Just hearing you, Brisa, was so beautiful, and just seeing everybody jump and dance and feel what this wonderful mantra does. It really reinforces the topic that we're going to address tonight. And I was moved to tears just seeing everybody dancing. And I was like, yeah. I remember one of my teachers used to say, or says, that we shouldn't miss a chance to dance. So every time we can, we should dance, especially for something that brings us all together. So the topic that we're going to talk about tonight is the value of spiritual relationships. And let me first start out by asking you guys if any of you have ever felt empty or lonely, even though you're so surrounded by so many people and so many things. If you have, please raise your hand. Yeah, almost everybody in this room. I have too. And so it's actually really weird that that happens, because apparently we're close together with so many things and people, but why do we feel this emptiness sometimes? Actually, a lot of times. And the ancient yoga texts explain that this is because we're spiritual beings, and we are actually eternal, full of bliss, full of knowledge. And because we have forgotten that we actually are seekers of love, we know this. We're constantly seeking love and affection and happiness, right? But we have forgotten how to actually get that from each other and how to actually experience this feeling. Because we have forgotten who we actually are. We're spiritual beings, right? And so we have interacted with each other and with everything around us in a materialistic way. Super simple, not simple, superficial, and just very materialistically, I guess, to put it in a very bold statement. And so we are natural seekers of love. This is what we're doing. But as entities that are conscious and that are seeking love, well, that makes me think we must come from a source that at least has the same qualities, right? It makes sense. It's logical. We can't get something from nothing. And so if we have these inclinations, this fundamental need for love, then our source must also have that same quality. And actually the ancient yoga texts explain that that source is actually the personification of love. So the highest conception of love, it's actually the person that's love. It's quite amazing to even think about it that way. And so from that person comes the energies or the adjectives that describe that person, right? The feeling of love. But really, actually, there's a person that personifies love. And so we know this person as one of his wonderful names is Krishna, which means the most attractive one, right? That's in Sanskrit. That's the name. And so when the ancient yoga texts explain that when we actually learn, we have to be trained to actually learn how to love in a real way. And the only way that we can do this is by connecting to that source again. Like all these beautiful lights that we have around, the purpose of those lights is to give light, right? But they won't function properly unless they're connected to that source of energy, right? So all of us, we're individual source of happiness and love and consciousness. But we won't be able to realize this and much less connect with each other unless we're connected to that source of love, which is the divine. And so that brings us to, well, what does that have to do with spiritual relationships if we're just talking about the individual soul connecting to the source? Well, we can't really connect with each other or love each other, experience that love, unless we're connected to that source. And now, how does that bring us together? Well, I actually was thinking about it today, and it came to me that once we start seeking, inquiring, coming to things or hanging out with people that also share the same questions, I guess, higher questions, then that divine being really helps us find that spiritual gang that we're so thirsty for, that we're seeking. And at the same time, once we find, that group, then we're inspired to learn more and connect more to that supreme being. And so it's like it works both ways. It's like the more you seek to connect to that Supreme Being, the more you attract people that are also seeking the same thing. And then those people inspire you to, and they uplift you to seek that higher connection with that source even more. So it's like never ending. And I thought that was so beautiful. I definitely, I was thinking about my own spiritual practice and how I couldn't have done it by myself. And many times, and still today, I think, oh, I don't need this person. I don't need to go to that. I don't need to read this. I can do it on my own. And it's really funny because I can't. And that's when your spiritual life starts. When you finally say, hey, I need some help. And it's okay to do that. It's not like you're weak or you're not enough. Actually, you become stronger by linking with other people. And so the ancient yoga texts explain that there's 3 levels of connection that we can have. Those 3 levels are, we seek teachers, people that have already walked this path, that have, gotten somewhere where you want to go, right? They have reached a goal, or at least they're closer to that goal than you are. So you seek them and you attach to them. And then you also have peers, people that you can form camaraderie with, people that are like your homies and you hang out with and you feel inspired by as well. And then you have people that you're bringing up, that you're connecting, that you're inspiring yourself and you're helping guide. And this helps us, stay accountable, help us walk our talk, right? Because it's so much easier to say things, but to actually practice them and be held accountable, it's a lot harder. And so when you have these 3 levels, the yoga texts explain that we have assured success. We're actually putting into practice this beautiful path of spirituality. And also, what happens from that connection is that a seed is given to you as a gift. And the ancient yoga texts explain that bhakti is a seed that is given to you as a gift, and then it's placed in your heart. And then by your own spiritual process, you water that seed, and then that seed starts to grow, right? Roots in your heart, and that's when you start your spiritual life. And then, again, not only you, but by the help of that community that you are now a part of, and that you're coming in contact with, then that seed keeps growing and growing, and then you keep moving forward. And then you maintain those 3 levels. You maintain somebody that you're attached to, your teachers, people that are at your same level, your peers, and then somebody else that you're helping guide and start this process again. This community is then enriched by not only your spiritual practice, but by the connections that you also make. There's different layers of spiritual relationship. It's a lot of times I get this from a lot of people that I talk to. They're like, well, I can't be like best friends with everybody. Like I can't just like be in contact with everybody all the time. And I thought that was so real for somebody to say. It's like I don't get along with these people, even though it's part of the same community. And it's like that's totally fine. We don't have to be best friends with everybody that we come in contact with. But at least we understand, hey, we're part of the same tribe. Like what Hari Bhakta was saying at the beginning. Just finding out that somebody else is also seeking the same thing, wanting to learn a little more and really get uplifted and share that with other people is just actually so rare. I don't know if many of you bump into people like this on the street or even on campus. Like, I don't. It's so hard and difficult to find something like this, And so when you finally do, it's like, oh my God. Like I'm Colombian, I was born in South America, and every time I find a Colombian person or like a Latin person, it's like yay, and it's it's superficial. I mean, I don't even know them, and I'm not even from them anymore. I'm here and all these things, but you feel identified with so many things, right? And it's all on a material level, and so I bring this up because also in a spiritual community, we can bring in our own things and really make something spiritual material, which is a huge thing that we need to be aware of, right? How many times have we met somebody and then we start getting to know them even more, and then we start seeing the not so good aspects of them, right? Then criticisms come up and all these things. I mean, it's all the material conditionings that we come in with. And so having a spiritual community doesn't mean that you're going to become a saint. It's like, oh, I'm all good and I never make mistakes. And then you judge other people and other people judge you. No, it's a sacred, I guess, bubble where you can just come in and inquire, to learn more. And everybody's coming in at the same level, and we're all walking this path and we're all helping each other out. And imagine if everybody comes in thinking, hey, I want to come into this community, being the community that I want to find. Like if you want to find a certain something in the community that you're coming to be a part of, imagine if we all think, well, I'm going to bring that in as well. It would be beautiful, right? Because we're all bringing something that we expect to see and that we expect to get as well. And so this is something that I have read and also something that I've experienced, which is the value of spiritual relationships because they are anchored on a spiritual platform, again, connected to that supreme source of everything. Then those spiritual relationships are limitless. They really have no limit. And I don't know if all of you can relate to this. I can bet on it that you do. That material relationships have a limit, to the point where we can't get something else from the other person. That's where we end the relationship, either it be a friendship or a romantic relationship or a student-teacher relationship. In material life, it's like that. We're only in contact with people and with things as long as we can get something from them. And the moment that we stop getting something from them, then we kind of just move on to the next thing. And then we go through our whole life feeling we're so surrounded by so many things and people. And it's so sad. Because we have so much potential, but we're all, I guess, conforming to just touching the surface, And so, again, we can take anything spiritual and make it material if that's our consciousness and that's our intention. But at the same time, you can make anything, pretty much your whole life the way it is right now, where you're at, with the people that you live with, that you spend your time with, you can also make that spiritual. So it all starts with us. We actually have that much power to make that change. And you don't have to change friend circles or families or names or anything like that. You just have to insert that spiritual knowledge, what you're getting, and really just infecting everybody else around it with that. Infecting is a negative word, I can see that, but it can also work in a positive way, So keeping this in mind, the next question that comes up is, well, how do we, once we have that seed of bhakti in our heart, we have started a process, we have come into contact with people and we feel inspired. And please remember that you're not always going to feel this way. You're not always going to feel inspired and enthusiastic about your spiritual life all the time. And you're not all the time going to have amazing relationships with everybody that comes to Mantra House. There's some things that you're going to not be cool about and other things. But keeping in mind that this is a process. And because we are growing spiritually, which is who we are, a lot of things are going to be coming off of us and a lot of things we're going to be adopting, right? And so with that in mind, that we have to make even more of an effort to keep that enthusiasm going. Just hearing Brisa lead Kirtan tonight was so amazing because just a few months ago, she was just somebody that also was sitting in the audience being really transformed by the Kirtan. And it is up to her because we all have free will to learn how to play the instruments and get some help from her community to be up here. And, I didn't know this was her first time leading here, so that was really special too. And so now she's leading. And, and so many of you in a few months are going to be doing the same thing. And so how can we maintain that spiritual relationship with our community and with each other and really our own spiritual practice? And I could say that the main thing is gratitude. Gratitude just changes lives. The moment that we stop remembering where we came from, and although it's so good to know where we're at and all the progress we've made, when we are able to think of how much we've grown and all the people that have taken part in that growth, gratitude is just automatically there. It's actually so fundamental to somebody that's healthy, what we can give things and actually not forget that. And then pay that debt forward by sharing that gift with other people, right? And so gratitude, it's something that we can practice every day. When I'm feeling a little low, I always, when I talk to my teachers, they're like, okay, gratitude list, And I'm like, yeah, that actually works, being aware of everything that we have. It's actually so difficult sometimes to get out of our mind and take a step back and realize that so many people have actually made you who you are today. The good and the bad. I think it's all good in a way. And so gratitude is definitely a wonderful medicine for anything that may be creeping into that relationship or those relationships and your community. And even because we think of bhakti as a seed, I don't know if you guys are familiar with gardening. Of course, you all are at some point. You have seen something grow. We have also seen weeds, right? The more we water our plants, or if we have like gardens, we're growing food at home or something like that, weeds also grow from the watering, right? And so that constant pulling of the weeds also in our spiritual life is very relevant. We have to be so aware and cautious about those things that are creeping in, that are taking away from nurturing that bhakti seed, that love, that devotion, and that connection to the Supreme Being. Because those things can really take us away from our path and really make it more difficult to make progress. And so keeping all these things in mind and maintaining your spiritual community healthy and strong will make sure that you can move forward and make rapid progress, just like you see from everybody here at Mantra House. It's so beautiful. Another thing that I thought was just perfect. I really like this topic because it's so easy to talk about this in this community, in this spiritual, I guess, relationship. And that is that this is what it looks like to have a spiritual community. Somewhere where you come and you hear knowledge. So knowledge is so important because it allows us to use our intelligence, which is fundamental, right? Logic is so important. It helps us discriminate between making a bad choice and a good one. So knowledge of the soul, knowledge of the Supreme Being, it's so important. So in places like this, we hear some knowledge, and at the same time, we're able to get practical tips on how to put that knowledge into practice. And also come together and learn different processes that will help us develop into the yogis that we want to become. And so how do we do that? By hearing kirtan. This is all the community coming together and chanting together. We're uplifting the consciousness, not only of ourselves, but our collective consciousness. And we're coming together, we're connecting, we're dancing and chanting, something that probably we don't do any other time of the week. I know that when I'm in kirtan, it's definitely a time where I can let go and really just let my heart go wild. And so we do that, and then we have, for example, another way in which we practice how to do things in a spiritual way is the cooking. We have a whole team here in Mantra House that specializes in cooking cruelty-free and karma-free food, right? Higher consciousness food. And then they give you the opportunity to plug in and learn how to do that and how to serve other people. And so everything in a community, it's meant to help us develop into that goal. Who do we want to become? And so you have it all here, and it's such a wonderful example. That's why I was like, yeah, this is a great topic. It's so easy because it's like, this is what you're a part of. And so you come to a place where they develop you, and you feel happy and enlivened, and then you take that into your daily life. That's what yoga means, actually. The ancient yoga text, the main Bhagavad Gita explains that yoga is actually the art of work. Learning how to connect that knowledge that we're not material, that we're spiritual, and connecting that to everything that we do in life and with people. And so when we put into practice this knowledge, not only here on Thursday nights, but we take that with us and we practice that the rest of the week, we're able to make a difference in the world. Even if you don't believe so, that's what's actually happening. So everybody you talk to, everybody you touch, everybody you come into contact with and you invite to this community, we're making a difference little by little. And then we are enjoying this wonderful food, and then we're, further making progress in this process. And so I want to thank you all, especially the staff of this wonderful project, because you guys do such a wonderful job in really setting up a place where people can plug in and learn and have fun doing it, and really find all three levels of those types of spiritual relationships. Somebody that's a little more advanced can teach other people how to do it, then you make friends at your own level, and then you start helping other people plug in and change their lives a little bit at a time. And so I feel really honored to have had the opportunity to speak tonight. It always gives me so much, and my whole week is transformed just by coming here and sharing a little bit about me. And I always think, okay, I'm going to go speak, but then I leave with so much more. And that's really the essence of spiritual life. It's really different from material life. Material life, you're always looking for what you're going to get. In spiritual life, you come in thinking, oh, I'm going to give this, but then you leave with so much more. And then you're able to just actually feel happy even when you're by yourself, which is so contrary to material life. Material life, we feel so lonely even though we're surrounded by so much stuff and people. In spiritual life, we learn how to internalize that. And even when we're alone, we're still feeling happy, connected, because we are learning how to connect to that Supreme Being, that love divine. And so I'll stop here. If anybody has any questions or comments, and we can maybe some discussion. We have 5 more minutes. Yeah. What's your name?
Rizan, R-I-Z-E-N.
Rizan, nice to meet you. Oh, I've heard about you, I think.
First of all, I just want to thank you for your beautiful expression and for being here. This is a really powerful topic, spiritual relationships. And my question is, I feel we have a relationship to everything. People, food, things, and an insecurity I faced, I think, in my earlier journey was my relationship with money. And I wanted to ask, how can you use spirituality to enhance your relationship with money specifically?
Yeah. So, thank you for such a wonderful question. I'm assuming that you mean I'm assuming that you mean relationship, like how to go from. It could actually be 2 things. People that actually hate money and they want to get away from it, and in a way give up money in a superficial way. Or somebody that just loves money so much and they realize it's so unhealthy. So which one of the 2?
Yeah, I feel maybe even a middle ground.
Middle ground, okay. So most of us are students, college students. We're having a goal that we want to get an education. And we want to make money. That's really why we're paying so much money right now to get a degree. Hopefully we can make pretty good living, and then we don't have to stress out so much, maybe as our parents have in the past or other people do. And so yoga texts explain that we can actually spiritualize anything as long as we dovetail it or we connect it, which is the meaning of yoga, right? Connecting, how we can connect material resource to spiritual life. So, for example, in my life, I went to Cal State Long Beach and I studied international studies, and I love that, and now I'm a translator. So I translate for a school district. I also have worked at the court system. And so what do I do with that I make, like the money that I make? So besides being active in my community, in my spiritual community, and doing my own personal work, because spirituality is your own personal work. Nobody else can do it for you. So as long as you're doing that, and you're also participating, doing some service in your community, well, I'm also, married, and I have a life, and I have work. So when I get my paycheck, I try to do something with that. So what can I do? I plug into a project that's going on maybe in my community that needs some financial support. Maybe the community that I'm a part of, a lot of times, yeah, we do bake sales, or we do, like, we put on festivals, and we actually feed people for free. But somebody has to pay for that food, right? And a lot of times, actually all of the time, it's based on donations. And so I plug in that way. We plug in that way. My husband also works, and so we try to give a little bit of that to support these events and these places, like this one, because this is your community, and donate towards that. And I know where my money's going, and it's being spiritualized because I'm helping connect other people that are coming to this project. And so just like we give money to everything else, like for our clothing, our makeup, our dates, right, our cars, all these other things, then we want to give money, if that's what we have access to things that are actually making an impact, a positive impact in the world. If you don't have money right now, I think it's very important, just as important, to be trained in getting some financial education. I think that being a yogi is not an excuse to not take care of your responsibilities. The Bhagavad Gita, which is our prime Bhakti Yoga text, explains that we need to do our duty and at the same time not be attached to the results of that duty. So it's not like we get to check out and say, I don't want to work, I'm a yogi, I'm just going to sit here and do nothing. No, we still have to do our duty in this world. We're in a material world. We have to survive somehow, right? And so by having a relationship with teachers that are cultivating you, they can also give you advice as to your nature, what you're good at, seeing the best in you, and how you can plug in. And in that way, you're connected materially, you're doing your duty, but you're working on your spiritual life and you're helping these types of projects grow. So, I mean, I think this is a topic that we can expand on, but probably not tonight. But I would love to talk to you about it more, any of you. And I think Risen has taken up all of our time. So, but I think that's the end of the time. But I'll be around if you guys want to talk or ask any more questions. And thank you so much for allowing me to